Welcome again. This is Brother G coming to you again with another video message, another video teaching. God is both good and evil. What? God is both good and evil. The God that I'm referring to, and I think the Christian church overall, universally speaking, the God that they think or assume or presume are their teaching that presume that God, the one that make the universe, that God that make the trees, the animal, and us, mankind, is both good and evil. Where did they get this idea, this theology? That's all you said? Okay. This teaching from, where did they get this doctrine? And the interesting thing about this doctrine, it's proliferated even in the Christian church. And I think the idea comes from ungodly men. And in this sense, when I'm talking about ungodly men, men who weren't sent really by the Spirit of truth. In other words, they weren't groomed by the truth to be sent to explain these things. And in actuality, we all now know that the Bible in its English form was not originally written in English. And so therefore I've learned a little Spanish, a little bit of French, and some different language, realizing that there are certain terms and phrases that when it moves from Greek, Hebrew, and Latin at the time, they didn't have a word to specify certain things. And so I could see where the mistake would be. And then after those translation and transliteration happens, men with a different concept about God put their ideology in the book, and so that we who are reading it, who are ignorant or who are slow, think that God is both good and evil. Both good and evil? The short answer is no. God is not good and evil. Even the New Testament and some places in the Old Testament clearly reveal this. And I'm going to show you from even the words that was given to us are forced upon us, that God is eternally good and man is the one who is good and evil. Now that makes sense to me. I've tried to figure this out all my short life, but now I realize and I see that it's not just a miscommunication. It's a misconception, it's a misteaching, it's a misdoctrine, it's a lie, to make it short. And I'm going to show you by the written word where they possibly get it from. No, where they got it from. They got it from the Bible, but it's just maybe a mistranslation. I'm being nice here. But we're going to show you plainly. Say God is eternally good and man is the one who is challenged with good and evil. Stay tuned, because I'm going to try to make it very simple and plain, and so that you can understand. Say, our God, the one that I serve, the one that I believe in, is eternally good. There's no shadow of nothing bad in God. It's man that is good and evil. Isn't it so? Stay tuned. Genesis 50, verse 20. But as for you, ye thought evil against me. This is Joseph supposedly talking. But God meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now, if you're ever in church or you have ever read the Bible and understand the story, it's as if this verse, Genesis 50:20, supersede all the narrative that was given before, how Joseph end up into slavery, end up into jail, was accused wrongfully of rape. It's almost like as if this verse, this one singular verse, supersede. In other words, this verse cancel out the whole narrative of Joseph and his brother and Jacob. Is it Jacob? I always get them confused. And Jacob. It is almost is. I'm repeating it because this verse becomes, as they say in Greek, the Achilles heels are the weakness of Achilles is girl, the Greek mythology, are Samson's Delilah. This becomes like Samson's Delilah because this verse take away the whole narrative and everybody and those who without understanding. Funny enough, look to this verse and conclude where it says, "But God meant it unto good," as if the God that I serve and believe in, the one that I expose in the introduction, he's the one, that power, he's the one that constructed everything. He made his brother to throw him into prison. He made Jacob to love him more than his brother. So God now constructed this, give these men these ideas, these nefarious ideas, his brothers, to throw him in prison. But if that was the case, why did his older brother try to save Joseph? Doesn't make sense. That means Joseph, older brother, who tried to save him, is better than God? Genesis 50:17. We're going to show you the contrast, even so close that some readers just neglect. I don't even know what the reason is. Verse 17. So shall he say unto Joseph, this is his brother that's sending messengers to speak to Joseph what Jacob their father told them to say. I pray thee now, the trespass of thy brethren. Who? The trespass of thy brethren and who? Their sin, their conception, their animosity, their enmity against the truth of God. For they did unto thee, who did evil to Joseph, his brother. And now we pray thee, forgive the trespass of the servant of the God of thy father. And Joseph wept when they spake unto him. Now this is very clear that in verse 17, the preceding verse, the verse 20, clearly and without equivocation, and according to the narrative, the story that was given before, clearly it was the brothers' concept or enmity against that which was true. Meaning Joseph was going to be, sheaves is going to stand up taller than theirs, and Joseph was going to be ruler over them. Even Jacob at the time considered the matter, and he wondered how this would play out. And some will wrongly conscript that it was God who put the evil. No, it's not. It's the brother, according to verse 17, who clearly was enmity against the spirit that was given to Joseph, irrespective of all the other things that you want to say. So that wasn't part of God's plan. No, it was the part of the devil, that spirit, to subjugate and to move the right thing of God from Joseph. Without a shadow of a doubt, I have shown and proven by verse 17 to verse 20 who did the evil and who always the good. And here's a cherry on top, verse 19, Genesis 50 verse 19. And Joseph said unto them, fear not, for I am in the place of God. And if you look at the Bible, they put God in a capital sense. And as we know by knowledge and understanding now, when the book is written, to emphasize or to clearly contrast the word of God, they would put the term God, the title God, in capital G. But in this sense, it shouldn't be in verse 19. It shouldn't be a capital G. It should be a common G. But look, this is a cherry on top. I'm going to give an understanding which people still struggle with. Joseph said he was in the place of God, but it should be a small G God. Here's the realization, and this is just for another topic. Governors, kings, priests, pastors, generals, captains, they are seen in the Bible context as God. Small G God. Because they are in authority and they have some power over man, and they either feed them or they make them go hungry. So they are in the place of God. So that's just a little cherry on top. But Joseph is plainly saying he's in the place of God. But even though he was in the place of God, he was still not higher than Pharaoh, because he was a governor, and Pharaoh could have still do anything that to Joseph. Understand that. I'm just revealing the things to those who are ignorant, like the brethren who I was before. So that's a
James
cherry
1,
on top. 13 to 15. Listen carefully. Let no man, woman, child, dog, rat, puss, cat, mosquito say when they are tempted of God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man with evil. But every man is tempted when he's drawn away of his own lust and enticing. So Joseph's brothers was tempted with their own concept of Joseph. They are the one who conscripted, in this case, the idea to sell Joseph into slavery. It was Potiphar's wife who falsely accused Joseph to put him into prison. The same spirit that Potiphar's wife had, his brothers had. When he was cast into the prison, the Spirit of God was upon the jailer to protect Joseph and to ascend him into a high situation in the prison according to the narrative. I'm clearly identifying who's God's spirit and who is devil's spirit. Verse 15, then when lust had conceived it and bring forth sin, and sin when it's finished bringeth forth death. So when Joseph's brother bring the idea forward, it had nothing to do with God. It was enmity against the spirit of truth. And so they come against the spirit of truth, and it was enacted through physical man, physical entity, physical hands, physical mouth speaking, physical eyes. I want to be very descriptive. So here, James, I like James. Let no man or woman say when he's tempted. I've stand up in many testimony service, and I've heard many people say God do evil to them and say they just spin it. And I'm here to say any evil that's pronounced upon you, it's two things. It's really two things with some nuance in it. Any evil that come upon you, it's either come up because of our own folly or someone else try to make you fall. So it's whether you do it of yourself ignorantly or someone outside of you who try to trap you or make you fall into sin and shame. Verse 16, which is not on the screen. Do not err, my beloved brethren. So James is saying, don't err. Don't say it's God tempting you. God cannot be tempted with evil, neither does he tempt any man with evil. That kind of end the conversation, but I know that it's going to continue. People have this idea, and I've shown you from Genesis 50 verse 20 with Joseph in this particular instance, that they believe that God in that verse was the one who conscripted all of this, who made his brother to throw Joseph into slavery, who made his brother to hate Joseph through the spirit. So God is working through good and evil. God is doing both good in Joseph and doing both evil in his brother. Don't err, my beloved brethren. Hear what James says. every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. In this context, above is from the Spirit of God, who is above all and in all, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no, watch this, no variableness, neither shadow of turning. I wish to have no shadow of turning, but I struggle because I'm a man. So James is said, do not err, my beloved brethren. Every good gift that comes from above, above in the spirit, above in the clouds, above in the realm of truth, above in the imagination of truth, above in the realm of truth, cometh down from the Father of lights, where there is no variableness. So there in no way, friends, family, passers by, that our God do both good and evil. What flows from God, which reveals in Revelation, is a well, a living water, clear and pure, that's flow from the living fountain. There's no dirty water in God. So the concept that the devil wants us to continue in is that our God does both good and evil. Our God doesn't construct evil. Our God only construct good. It's men who oppose God. It was always men, educated men, learned men, who oppose God in the spirit. And if not, they oppose him and throw Daniel into the lion's den. Why? Because he served the good God. This is how Genesis 50, verse 20, should be understood. That Joseph's brother meant what they did unto Joseph for evil, full stop. But God meant his part for Joseph to be good. Not God meaning everything that was done to Joseph, it was God who did it. No, what his brothers did was for evil to oppose, which is enmity against the spirit of truth, what is right, what should be fulfilled. And God meant his part to Joseph for good, to bring to pass as it is that day when everything was fulfilled, to save much people alive. So, to understand this verse, as many believe, that is, God was working in his brothers, and God was also working in Joseph, and God is responsible for good and both evil. Not so, my friend. Do not err, my brethren. God cannot be tempted, according to James. Clear and lucid understanding. God cannot be tempted, nor does he tempt any man, any woman, any child with evil. So understand this concept where many Christians have it today, that God is doing both good and God is doing both evil. There are some things that are not clearly understood, and as I have understand them, I would surely want to pass them on so people understand that God is always good, and man is the one who opposes God in the spirit, in this understanding against nature. It is man, as his brothers were against the spirit of truth. Stay vigilant.